Hello, I am currently in sunny California at my parents' house. This is where I spent my formative teenage years at. It's been 2 years since I was last here, and wow, time really just flew by. I've been here for about a week, and I've just been spending time with my parents, my dog Mochi, doing some work related stuff, and seeing old friends. For a very long time, I really disliked coming back home. I just had a lot of bad memories tied to the city, and every time I came back, it was just like a reminder. Most of it stems from just disliking who I was as a person, but now when I really think about that, I wouldn't be here today without her. I've been trying to connect with my parents more, just having more conversation, and we're also taking a family vacation very soon. We're going to Panama, or also pronounced as Panama. My parents are both fluent Spanish speakers. They met, got married, and lived in Panama for a few years before immigrating to the US. So I thought that it would be fun to connect with them through a third language, which is why I've been using Lingoda to study Spanish for the past month or so. And also, sometimes when my parents talk about me, they use Spanish and I would like to understand what they're saying. Hola, me llamo Jasmine. Lingoda is an online language learning platform that offers 24/7 courses in various languages such as German, French, and Spanish. I love how friendly the teachers are, and since my pronunciation is not fantastic, it's really encouraging to hear feedback from them. Learning a new language can be challenging, but with these small interactive group classes, they are definitely helping me overcome anxiety and progress quickly by speaking more frequently. Lingoda is doing a sprint challenge where you can get 50% cash back or earn 30 credits if you take 30 lessons in 60 days. Or if you want a more intense challenge, you can get 50% cash back or 60 credits if you take 60 lessons in 60 days. Language learning has been a rewarding hobby and a new addition to my daily routine. If you would like to try Lingoda, I'll have a link down below, and you can also use my code Jasmine2024 to get 20 euros off the sprint challenge. Last year, I made a video talking about dropping out of art school to pursue a career in tattooing, but today I want to talk about something a bit more personal. I want to talk about how I'm healing my relationship with my parents after making the decision to drop out of college. I know that some of you might be facing similar struggles, so I hope that this little chit chat brings you some insight and maybe even some comfort. I think we should start from the beginning. Growing up, I was really lucky to have a pretty happy childhood, but everything got a bit more challenging once I became a teenager, going through puberty and all that. I was kind of difficult to deal with, if I'm being honest. It was made quite clear to me that my parents valued education above everything else, and that the one and only end goal was to get into a good college. And throughout my childhood, I had the privilege of attending a lot of outside classes such as art classes, sports, SAT prep, Chinese class, all of these prep classes. But because I was an only child, I had all of these expectations that were placed on me, and when I couldn't meet them all, I would be met with disappointment and disapproval, and that really tends to take a toll on someone who's really young and really impressionable. It doesn't seem that important anymore, but when you're young and you're not doing so well in like one or two classes, getting punished for it probably isn't going to help anyone. I have this super vivid memory of when I was failing calculus, and because I didn't want to get in trouble for it, I would Photoshop my grade on the app and show it to my parents when they asked about it. I think that with stricter parenting, it often results in sneakier kids because you don't want to get in trouble, so you go behind your parents' backs and just being really secretive about everything. I didn't do anything that was like super crazy. I think the most I did was I would sneak out of the house at 3 in the morning to hang out with friends. If you ask me why I did that, I don't really have an answer for it. Just being a teenager. But as I was saying earlier, college was the end goal, right? I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, so I decided to choose an art school, and also because I liked art enough and art school seemed easy enough. I didn't even get accepted into my top priority school, which was a whole emotional saga, but I did get accepted into most of the other schools that I applied to. Yay! I was actually so excited for college. I couldn't wait to get away. I couldn't wait to become a new person, to start a new life far, far away. Yeah, at that time, I really just couldn't wait to leave my life here behind. Being even able to attend college and an art school on top of that, which is really expensive, is a privilege in itself that I will never stop being grateful for. But first year of college, I was not doing so hot. I was not doing great mentally. I was not doing great grade-wise. I would come back home for breaks, face disappointment from my parents because, our school is easy. There's something wrong with you if you can't do well here. Even in college, I still didn't know what was going to happen after it, what I want to do career-wise, because all I knew my whole life was college and not what comes after it. Like, what happens after? I didn't know. But after I got my tattoo apprenticeship, which for the first time was something that I felt truly so passionate about, I was in love with it. I was just met with more anger, more disappointment, more disapproval. At that time, I was already dealing with a lot of personal issues related to mental health. So I really had my defense mechanisms up. Coming from a place of hurt, I was just like, okay, well, if you can't understand me, then I'm not gonna bother understanding you. During COVID, I ended up taking a gap year and I presented to my parents a 1-year plan of exactly everything that I was gonna do. They were again very disappointed and they had this huge fear of me not going back to school after my gap year, which they were not so wrong about. I think this was where I really started developing into a very avoidant person. I would ignore their messages, their calls for weeks on end because at the time I really could not deal with any more disappointment on their end. I still went back to visit them in California, but it just felt like we were walking on a ton of eggshells. There was just so much tension in the space. In the following year, after my gap year, I decided to drop out of school because I couldn't really see the point in attending anymore, and also because it was during COVID, so everything was online. I felt really anxious, really scared, really selfish for making this choice and not knowing if I was making the right choice or not. This was the final straw for my parents. And they were just like, what is wrong with you? Why do you try to be so different from everybody else? Why can't you just be like everyone else? Why are you so weird? And that was really hurtful to hear. By that time, I was already on autopilot mode and I got really good at ignoring rather than processing my feelings of hurt, guilt, shame. In fact, I recently just processed how guilty and how ashamed I felt about dropping out, even though now I know that I made the right decision. My parents were really hurt by my actions, my choices, and I was also really hurt. And when you have hurt and hurt, nothing productive really comes out of it. And when I started my own tattoo studio with my friend Kat, I think that was when they truly realized, oh shit, there's really not any hope of her going back to school, at least for the next few years. I mean, you spend years and years raising a child with your own version of what success and happiness will look like for them. And when that doesn't happen, it must feel absolutely devastating. 4 years later, rather than coming from a place of hurt, I've come to truly love the person that I am today. I really believe that healing takes a lot of time. It's a really long process. And before I could heal the relationship that I had with my parents, I really had to heal the relationship that I had with myself. Sometimes I think about whether or not I would have been happy if I listened to my parents and I finished school, I didn't get my tattoo apprenticeship, I got a job in corporate like I was expected to. Probably not. Honestly, I woke up sometime a few months ago and I was just like, Jasmine, you really need to stop feeling so terrible about yourself. You're not a bad person. And obviously it's not as easy as it sounds, but it definitely helped guide me into forgiving my parents, letting go of years of built up emotional damage, being more empathetic towards them, and learning to set boundaries with them. I've learned to accept that my parents are going to be disappointed in me and that's okay. The other day, I asked my dad if he was still mad at me for dropping out and he said, no, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed that you made this choice and now you can't experience all the wonderful things that the world has to offer to you. If this was a year or two ago, I would have responded really defensively and we would have probably gotten into another argument. But I was just like, okay, I get it. You're entitled to your own opinion and I respect that. I think to a degree that they understand where I'm coming from, but they still have their own trauma to work through and it's really not my responsibility to figure that out for them. I think being a parent is such a hard job. Like my parents probably didn't know what they were doing as parents. And a lot of the time, parenting patterns are often reflected in the ways that they were brought up in their own childhood. So this is where we are at now. I wouldn't say that my relationship with my parents is completely healed, but we're getting there. We've reached a point of mutual understanding where our perspectives on life might not align exactly, but we respect each other's choices, and that makes me really happy. When I was younger, I was often immature and didn't fully grasp my parents' intentions. However, now I understand that they just wanted the best for me. As I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate just how much they sacrificed, and I'm very grateful for everything. It definitely feels different being back here this time around. I feel like we're more at peace with ourselves, and I've missed the suburbs, I've missed the California sun, and now I'm like, should I be a bi-coastal girly? I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this little chit chat, and I will see you next time. Bye.